What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today I have book reviews. How many? Five. Five book reviews. Let's get it.
Favorite reader, that's who you are. Traveling near, traveling far. Through every chapter, you're the star. Favorite reader, that's who you are.
Okay, let's see what we got. This came from my bookshop.org wish list. So somebody sent me a book. Hopefully it says who sent it. Let's see. Thank you for your awesome videos. How sweet. Who sent it? So bookshop.org really doesn't say who sent it. It's just a note. Whoever this is, thank you. That's so cool. It's a book. Like all the books on my wish list are on there because I want to read them. This is a book I wanted to read soon. So I'm so glad somebody got me this. It's Black owned. Black owned, The Revolutionary Life of the Black Bookstores by Char Adams. Woo! So grateful. So excited. I cannot wait to read this. I'm gonna read it in May. I'm gonna read this in May. I got it in May. I'm gonna read it in May. It's a book I really wanted to prioritize. I've heard nothing but great things for it. And it seemed like it's right up my alley. Like I can't wait. I can't wait to get into this. That is so cute. Oh, look, before the next chapter. I like that. If y'all don't know, this book is about the history of Black-owned bookstores. Let's see what else it's about. In Black-owned, Char Adams celebrates the living history of Black bookstores, period. Packed with stories of activism, espionage, violence, community, and perseverance, Black-owned starts with the first Black-owned bookstore, which an abolitionist opened in New York in 1834. And after the bookshop's violent demise, Black book lovers carried on its cause. I cannot wait. James Patterson said an amazing and inspiring, passionate, and honest book. Mina Harris said Black-owned bookstores show us what's possible and needed right now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sending me a book off my wish list, and thank you for watching my videos. It's so thoughtful and nice. Okay, back to the video. Okay. So, how do I want to do this? Okay, we're going to start with the book club I have with my sons. Our last pick was Holes by Sachar. I've read this book when I was younger, and we watched the movie several times, actually, even though my youngest son said he does not remember. Like, he knows that we watched the movie, but he didn't really remember the details, even though we watched it a few times. But that was a book club pick, our last book club pick, and it was a good time. It's about a group of kids that was sent to a detention center where they literally have to dig holes. They were in trouble for whatever reason. You really get to understand each kid, know each kid, and they're there essentially digging holes, but it's deeper than that. Okay, we had a really good time going through this book. My son seemed to be super invested. I enjoyed it. Now we need to rewatch the movie since he act like he didn't watch the movie before, but we will make time to watch that at some point. The main character's name is Stanley, and we had a really good discussion about him as a character and a few other characters like X-Ray, Miss Catherine. Very, very interesting book. I like going back to books that I read when I was young. One, to see if my son has like similar thoughts that I had the first time that I read it. And then two, to see what I think about it now at this age. And I think with this book, I feel like I liked it more when I was a kid. I still liked it, but I remember like in my head, this was such a really, really good book. And it was still good, but it definitely was better when I was younger. So I will say that. And my son really enjoyed it too. So yeah, that's book one. Next, we have Life Lessons from Literature, Wisdom from 100 Classic Works by Joseph Piercy. Okay, so this book goes over, like it says, 100 classic works, and it has a really cool structure and concept. This book is broken up into 5 different sections. You have love and relationships, people and society, oppression and conflict, psychology and identity, and history and memory. So with the 100 books, each section for each book is like bite-sized pieces. It's not an in-depth preview. It provides a really high-level overview. So what you get is a synopsis, which can be between 1 and 5 sentences long. You get a life lesson, which is a couple of sentences long to a few paragraphs. It may include a quote. It may not. Many do not, but some do. And yeah, this prompted me to move up a few of the classics that I own, that I haven't read. Reading like a little bite-sized piece was kind of like a little taste tester, you know, a platter of sorts. So you kind of get to pick and see, which I like stuff like this. It's the same reason I just randomly pick a book off the shelf and read a few pages, a paragraph, a chapter, whatever, just to kind of get a sense and a feel for the book. So I like this. It made me move up Wise Blood by Flannery O'Connor, and it made me want to move up Metamorphosis by Kafka, and it was another one. What was it? Was it Don Quixote? It might have been Don Quixote. I can't remember, but it had a few in here that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it's classics in here I've never heard of, but because they were in this book and I kind of got an idea of what the takeaway is and a little synopsis, I was like, you know, that kind of sounds interesting. Let me look into that. Let me see what that's all about. So yeah, again, this is not super in-depth. It would be cool. This is just bite-sized pieces, but it would be cool to have a book similar to this where they do go in-depth and it's like a legit analysis. I'm sure there are books like that. I don't have one, but I know that they do make books like that. But this is just quick, hit it and quit it. You know, it was something in here. And then, okay, so there are books in here that I've read, quite a bit of them that I've read. And I liked reading what they said the synopsis was, what they got out of it, the life lesson. And just to see, like, did they pull out the key things that I pulled out? And for the most part, I was like, yeah, I feel like that was the main message of it. There was one where I was like, like Beloved. It wasn't that I disagreed. I just feel like it was short-sighted a little bit. But again, it's a bite-sized piece. They also have Ulysses by James Joyce in here, which I'm currently reading over the course of a year. And let me just read to you what they say the synopsis of this is. Experimental modernist novel recounting the thoughts, movements, and encounters of Leopold Bloom during a single day, June 16th, 1904 in Dublin, Ireland. Yes, that is a synopsis, but I just feel like, I mean, true, it's a synopsis, but I don't know, like, how much do I want to be in like 1 to 5 sentences? But yeah, that's it. I still really like this cover. It's got this nice texture to it. Seems real durable. But this is something that I feel like I would pull off the shelf and just like, if I'm looking for my next read and I just so happen to want it to be a classic, that I'll just kind of, you know, see what's in here. And they do have like an index of authors in here, which I thought was cool if you're looking for a certain author. And they have an index of works, which I thought was cool at the end. So if you're looking for the title of a book, you can find it there. But yeah, that's that one. Okay, next we have The Waterbearers, a memoir of mothers and daughters by Sasha Bonét. I really like this cover. Now, my cover is torn. Like literally the minute that I pulled it out the box, I got this on bookshop.org. The minute that I took it out the box, I ripped the cover. I was so hot. I was hot. But, you know, it's okay. It's okay. This, oh my goodness. This is, first of all, this is Sasha Bonét's debut book. It's an intergenerational memoir about motherhood, specifically Black motherhood, and just everything that comes with it. Like the daughter, the mother, the grandmother, like just the matriarchal line and everything that's associated with that from generation to generation. This book right here, when it started off, I should have known. I should have known that first word. First of all, before I even get to the first word, I should have known how this book started off. Just look. Just let me show you. Look at that. Look at that picture. Then look what Toni Morrison had to say. 100% agree. But I should have known when I opened up this book and it started with listen. That's when I should have already known when I seen that what type of time this book was on. And it did not disappoint. Okay, listen. Like I said, it did not disappoint. Like I said, it's her memoir, but it talks about like breaking the cycle, recognizing the cycle. I mean, recognizing it first before you even break it, but just what that looks like and the women that came before you and why they might have done what they did and what their lives looked like before they became mothers, when they became mothers, when they were daughters themselves. And it made me think so much about like how much of our love and our pain can be passed down to our children, not just through osmosis, but our actions. Like, yes, some things they just get passed down. I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes. I don't know nothing about that. But I do know through our own actions and just like what we hold on to, we pass down some of that stuff. Our love and how much we want to give to them shows up. And the stuff that we haven't dealt with, the stuff that we endured, the stuff we went through, that gets passed on too. The same for the people that came before you. The same. Yeah, man. She talked about her grandmother and how her grandma's house was like a landing pad. It was a safe space in a lot of ways. And I could relate to that. Not necessarily like rest in peace to my grandma. Not necessarily her. Like, I wouldn't say, I don't want, her house was always like central to something in my life for the most part. And I feel like that, like I could relate to that and I understood what she was saying about that. Even like the role that her grandma played when her grandma was a child and then like when her mom was a child. Just so it made me think about the women in my life. It made me think about my grandmas. It made me think about my auntie, my mama, which I'm talking about books. It made me think about my sisters who are now mothers, but obviously I knew them before they was mothers and we shared the same mama. And it made me think about my mama. It made me think about my mom. And I'm just like, this made me want to confront. I mean, I guess I'm already confronting it, but this really made me reflect on a lot of my life. It made me think about me, myself as a mother now of two. And it made me think about me as a daughter of my parents. Like, it's complicated, but so many people's situations are, so this book also is beautiful in a way because it highlights how you can see her being empathetic and growing into understanding and like that forgiving and healing process. You can see it take place over the course of the book. And I just thought that was it's so beautiful. And stuff like this, books like this are always so vulnerable in so many different ways. It almost feels like something that like this is part of a healing and a therapy process. Like this is part of their therapy. That's the way it always comes across to me. And I commend people that write books like this because it's a vulnerable thing to do, to put your stuff out there. And then it potentially, like, yes, it can help other people. They can feel seen in the work. But it also opens up a lot of stuff too, like to the people who are in your family that might read this book or question what's in it. you yourself to be able to name some of the things that you've seen, like that takes courage and again vulnerability and transparency. And I just feel like it's not easy to do. For some people I'm sure it is, but I know that there's probably so many complicated feelings that come with putting out a book like this, the writing process, like digging through family history and dealing with stuff in real time as you're trying to like create a piece of work too. Something else that stood out to me about this book, there was a point in the book where the author was talking about, again, she's talking about the women in her family. And there was a part of the book where she was talking about one of the daughters who focused on being reliable instead of desirable. And that resonated with me on so many different levels. I was like, wow, like I know people like this. I feel like for a large point in my life, I was like that. And I don't think consciously I knew that that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. And then I know people who have done the same or were doing the same. And I just thought that was so interesting to see put on a page and named and identified and kind of the reasons why and what that what that develops into, what that looks like as time goes on. That same daughter that I said that focused on being reliable instead of desirable became like a second mom to her younger siblings. And that too, like for some reason that seems to go hand in hand. And it just made me think like so many things. This book had me reflecting. I made so many different journal entries surrounding this book. And again, it made me think about a lot of my own life, my own past, my family history. And something that I kind of go in and out of like heavily working through is, and again, see, it's even vulnerable putting it on here, but like it just made me think about my relationship with my own mama and what that looks like. So, Black motherhood. And now that I'm a mom, my perception has shifted, not by much, but it has shifted in some areas where I felt very strongly one way. It's shifted some where I do have more of an understanding. So wait, and then that sister that I just mentioned is the author's aunt. So the author's mother, which is one of the younger siblings of the one that I just said, was more focused on being reliable instead of desirable. She, along with the author's grandma, so she was seen by one of her younger siblings, which is the author's mom, in a negative light. Like she had some bitterness or resentment towards her own mother, which is the author's grandma, and her older sister. And so many different things that this book made me think of. Even though like even when my mama wasn't around, I always had my big sister, and I don't know, like I know people do feel like have certain feelings, and I know that part of that resentment and bitterness that she had towards her older sister also had to deal with the relationship between the older sister and her mom. Like I know that, understand it, and maybe who knows? People deal with stuff all kind of ways. That's why I got out of this. People deal with stuff all kind of ways, and I just like books like this. They make you think, they make you feel, they make you feel seen, they make you feel understood, they make you see things in a different light. They highlight important things that are often unseen or overlooked. And it can be so easy to pass judgment on somebody based on their actions, their inaction, based on a lot of things without knowing the full picture. And don't get me wrong, that does not mean people can treat you terribly. But it is like, even from an outsider's perspective, it is easy to cast judgment on other people without knowing the full scope. And then you got to kind of wonder, like, why are you casting judgment? Why do you feel the way that you feel? Like, what's that say about you? So, yeah. And another thing that stood out to me, another thing, Sasha's mom felt like she mentioned that her mom thought that it was better to be intolerable than invisible. And that did something to me too, because while I feel like I was a lot of things in my adolescence. I don't know, but I was a lot of things in my adolescence, but I did feel like I agree with that sentiment that it was better to be intolerable than invisible. That stood out to me. Yeah, that prompted an entire like journaling session. Like I was going in after I read that. So what I ended up like my main thought that kept like cycling through my head through all of this is one, you have to think through and honor like the people that came before you, whose shoulders you stood on. And you have to recognize that motherhood, parenthood in general, but motherhood is not perfect. It's no such thing as being a perfect mother, a perfect parent. It's just not. And so it's easy to think about the things that has been done to you, and easy to not consider the things that you might be doing or passing along to your children too. So you're not blameless in this equation. Like, I don't know. So like me as a mom, that's what I was thinking about myself. It's easy to recognize how you felt, how you were treated, what was done for you, who wasn't there for you, who did or didn't raise you. And then it's also easy, unless you're very intentional, to kind of turn a blind eye to your faults and your shortcomings as a mother, because I love them. And so you sometimes can excuse a lot of stuff that you do. So that's what made me think. Motherhood is not easy, but I really do hope and pray that my kids see that I try to be intentional with what I do. I'm not perfect, and they know that. I know that. But I do try to give genuine effort, and I just hope that comes through. And this book made me think about that in a greater scheme, like in the bigger picture view, and not just me and my two kids. Like think about it, like pan out and think about how that fits in a bigger world, in a bigger space, in my bigger family. And it's something to be said about watching your kids grow up living a totally different life than you did, having totally different experiences, and knowing that you played a part in that. Like knowing that they don't have to live in fear and in constant traumatic situations and like uncertainty and neglect and violence. And you just to see like that they're thriving, and to know like obviously I'm not perfect, but I can see that what like some of my decisions did have an impact on this. And to see that and sit back and recognize it, it's something about that just warms my heart. Like sometimes I like zone in the moment. I just try to be present in those times where I recognize like dang, they're not scared to do XYZ. Like they don't see these things the way that I saw them when I was their age. And like I love that for them. So this book right here, this was great. This is great. That's all I'm gonna say about this. People who talk about something for an hour. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But anyways, that's it for this one. Great book. It was very reflective. It made me reflect. I feel like it spoke to a lot of the general Black mother experience, the general Black daughterhood. Even if you had the most loving mother in the world, the most loving grandma, I still feel like outside of how you were treated, there is so much value in this book, because it's you just think about so many different things in your lineage, even if it's all good experiences. So it's a good book, y'all. It's a good book. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the next book is The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Space-Time, and Dreams Deferred by Dr. Shonda Prescott Weinstein. This was a good book too. This book was written by a theoretical and astrophysicist, and she loves her work. She loves her work. This is part memoir and part critique. The premise of this book, well, there's a few things that I feel like the author is trying to get through, but one of the main things is that studying the physical world requires you to study the social world. I have never read a book quite like this. So this was very interesting to think about. This author also says that she wants science to be accessible to everyone. And it's broken up into different parts. So you have just physics, physics and the chosen few, the trouble with physicists, and all our galactic relations. Okay, let's start with part one. So the first part is just physics, and it's literally written so that the author can explain things to the layman about physics. I feel like this author was trying to write like a general physics for dummies section, but then it got above the dummies section until like you should know some of this section, and I was like, but I don't know none of this section. So I was tracking in and out. Like I was like, okay, I got you. I'm understanding what we're doing here. And then she go again a little bit more, and I'll be like, I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna keep reading. And then when I get back in, like, okay, I understand this part. And then she'll say something else, and I'll be like, I don't know what that means either, but I'm gonna keep reading. And I was kind of doing that for the entire section. I understood some things, some basic things, and some other stuff. I was like, "Whoo, this is getting into the weeds," but I'm gonna keep going. It was a lot of physics history, a lot of standards and best practices, a lot of terms, definitions, physics law, matter, particles, quarks, what else? So much other stuff. And it was all highlighted to show that physics is social. And again, I don't think I've ever read a book that kind of like connected the two. Well, I personally have never read a book that has connected the two. The author made it clear, which we kind of already knew, that all great developments were not done independently, that they were done in community, built on previous knowledge, previous work, and that is the basis of it. One thing I liked about this section is the author tied physics to like people's everyday lives so that they could see the relevance and correlation, and so that physics didn't seem like this far off thing that nobody uses and it doesn't impact you. She brought in a lot of examples about how it impacts everybody every single day. So I thought that was interesting. The next part of the book, Physics and the Chosen Few, talked about physics and melanin, which again, I thought was so interesting because I never thought about that. So she talked about how there's 3 different types of melanin, but what she really talked about is race science and black mediocrity. She made a very clear point about how black people have had to be extraordinary in their survival. There's not really room to, if you want to succeed at anything, there's not room to be normal and average, and why that's a problem. And she talked about her disdain for black people being compared to dark matter. She went on a whole rant about why she does not like that and why it's problematic. And I thought that was interesting too, because I never thought of that either. As a physicist, she talked about how there's so many microaggressions, so many different things that she has to face, and made a good point that scientific thought is not new to black people. Like, she really drove that home. Like, it's not just for old white men. Like, it's not new to black people. So she made that point, which I thought was interesting. And I thought it was important to say, so I appreciated that. She highlighted in that part how she has just experienced so much undermining, so much underestimation, so much doubt in her field. And it's a field that she loves. And that made me think about how black women in the workforce have to deal with so much stuff. I don't care what nobody say. So much stuff. So even if you like what you do for work, you can love what you do for work, it can still be so draining showing up and constantly being like belittled, even if it's microaggressions, constantly being questioned, constantly being looked over or looked down upon, constantly being the one who has to step up and do more free labor than other people, constantly being the one who has to like be this team mom for the team, like constantly having to do something always, like to even be seen as like, oh, you're good with talking, you can be the one to do that. Oh, you're good with communicating, you can do that. Oh, you're good with organizing, you can do that. Oh, you're good with this, you can do that. So many different things. So even if you like what you do and love your job, which she clearly loves her job, and you can tell, it takes a toll. And that's something I feel like a lot of people can agree with, me included. How people might even try to like undermine or erase your expertise or experience or specialty or whatever it is, based on what? The fact that you're a woman, the fact that you're a black woman, the fact that you are seen as aggressive, or like what is it? And that right there, it'll drain you. It'll take a toll. It has taken a many women out of a job or a career or whatever it is that they've liked, because it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. She makes that clear. It's across the board. All fields don't matter. The next part of this book is called The Trouble with Physicists. And that section highlights how physicists today perpetuate all of the things that she's talked about in the previous section. How there's still people current day in the field. It's old. It's like harmful thinking, harmful practices, harmful a lot of things that perpetuate the same issues that she spent a lot of time fleshing out in the section before. This is the section that she talks about rape too. She talks about rape in a few ways, which I thought was interesting. I've never thought about some of these things in correlation with like other things. Like I never thought about some of these things in the way that she was framing them. And I liked that she took an approach that I've never seen. I liked that it was seen very, very true to her. And to me, I was like, oh, I didn't even make that correlation. But yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then the next section, which is the last portion of the book, is called All Our Galactic Relations. And that section talks about the impact of it all, the implications of it all, settling space, colonialism, in science, and in science exploration and discovery, all of it. It ties up everything that we were talking about before on a global impact. This book is so much about humanity and oppression and opportunity, assault, discrimination, social responsibility, microaggressions, gender, choice, intersectionality, like so many different things in this book. And I wasn't expecting to get all of that in there. But now that I'm thinking about it, if I would have thought about this title more deeply, where it says, and dreams deferred, I should have known that it was going to take like a social view as well. If I was really thinking about this title, I wasn't thinking about it, because I didn't even think about how she would merge the physical world and the social world in that way, and using physics to tie it all together. Like, this was interesting. Yeah. The author is self-titled as a storyteller of the universe. I thought that was cool because, like, again, social, physical storyteller of the universe. I thought that was pretty cool. Also, at the end, there's a section for recommended reading and an index, which I love those being included in nonfiction books, so you can read more about whatever the topic is that you just read about, get more information, more in depth on certain things that you might want to explore more. And then again, an index to quickly find stuff. So I appreciate it. Yeah, so that's that one. The last book I'm going to talk about also deals with space in a way. I told you she was a theoretical and astrophysicist, so there is some space talk in here. This next book, there's some space talk in here too, clearly. It's called How I Killed Pluto and Why I Had It Coming by Mike Brown. This author is an astronomer who discovered what he was calling at the time the 10th planet Okay, this is when Pluto was still a planet. He discovered something that was bigger than Pluto. And so he thought that this search, this quest, this discovery would then make that planet that he found, we're gonna call the 10th planet. He thought that it would be inducted into the planet society. There's it's a whole process on something being deemed a planet or not. But what really happened, it sparked up so much controversy because when Pluto was first deemed a planet, it went uncontested for 70 years. It was already like the oddball out of all the planets for several reasons. And it went uncontested for 70 years. And so when he had his discovery, they were like, wait a minute. We don't think like that's not, it's a planet. It's like, oh, it might be a planet, maybe, but it's not really a planet. And so it sparked this entire like science debate and controversy. And ultimately, instead of his planet becoming a planet, it got Pluto demoted to a dwarf planet. And I just like, I grew up, my kids, not so much. They understand and have been introduced to dwarf planets. I did not when I was in school. We called Pluto the smallest little planet at the end. It was teeny, it was tiny, but it was there and it was a planet. And in 2005 is when he discovered his planet, the 10th planet. I remember when they announced that Pluto is no longer a planet, and I didn't understand how something that could be a planet is now not a planet. I really didn't. And I didn't spend any of my adult time trying to find out why. I don't know why though, because I clearly didn't know why that was that way. And I never went to go see why that was that way. I didn't even do a Google search to see why Pluto wasn't a planet. I was just kind of like, that's crazy. It don't make sense. How would I know it didn't make sense if I never looked it up to make sense of it? See, that's on me. But this book explained so much. It starts off explaining what a planet is, what it was at first, how that definition and scientific definitions, period, can evolve over time, what a planet is now. And it goes over how he discovered, like the process of him discovering the planet, validating it, the scientific response, the scientific community's response to said discovery, and all of that. And just like the Disordered Cosmos, in both of these books, you just get like this overwhelming sense that they love what they do. And I don't know about y'all, but it's something like deep. Just like looking up in the sky or like looking through a telescope and just seeing I don't even know what I be seeing half the time. Is it a star? Probably. It could be a star. I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. There's a comet. It's just so cool to like know how vast, how much is just surrounding us. It's just so, I don't know, man. It's so interesting. And I love sharing this information with my kids. I do. I have two sons, and like they're both very, like when I tell them this, they interested in hearing it. But my youngest son is way like, if I read something about animals or insects or the dirt, the I don't know, something like that, where it's like birds, you name whatever. He is all over it and he just like eats it up. That's like my animal insect kid. And my oldest son, he likes a lot of things, but when I tell him stuff, he saw me reading this book. He said, "Mom, how did Pluto get killed?" We talked about that. Like he likes stuff like that. He like we it's so interesting to like talk to them about this stuff because one, I find it interesting, and two, they then share stuff with me, and so we kind of go back and forth. It prompts them to look stuff up, which I think is so cool, and they'll come back and tell me stuff. So yeah, my son, my youngest son, he's 7. Every day I'm learning a fact about something: marine biology, marine wildlife, insects, birds, the history of something, predators, who know anything. I'm learning something. And my oldest son, like he does like that, but he just has like a my youngest son, that's like his specialty. My oldest son is kind of like me. He just interested in so many different things, and so much is just so cool. And he knows a lot about a lot. And I just think that's so cool because they're so little. Anyways, I'm getting carried away. This is interesting. I learned a lot that I didn't know. Yeah, and yeah, so that's it. That's it for me today, y'all. That is it. Let me kind of get these stacked up here. It's my review video. Let's see, can y'all see me move my head? That's it, y'all. I enjoy these. I enjoy every single one. Yeah, that's it. If you've read any of these, let me know. If any of these sound interesting, let me know. And that's it, y'all. I'm gonna see you on the next one.
Pages turning soft as silk, stories flowing like warm milk. A journey starts with every line, worlds unfold.